So I'm sure you've seen a bunch of screaming and histrionics and people going nuts over the Trump administration freezing any grants distributed by this organization called USAID, USAID. You've seen this, right? People are freaking out. It's like suddenly the rockets and satellites are going to fall from space. It's like this thing has been keeping the infrastructure for electric grid together. We can't live without USAID, right? You've probably never even heard of it. So what is this giant slush fund in Washington, D.C.? Well, spokesperson for the White House yesterday confronted the very reporters who have been delivering misinformation to average American citizens who really don't have time to pay attention to what USAID does. Well, Caroline Levitt, she explained some of the things that USAID has been doing under the Biden administration. Take a watch.
And here's the reason why Elon Musk and others have been taking a look. Because if you look at the waste and abuse that has run through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government. Thank you, guys.
Boy, she is very, very good at that, especially that. I don't know about you, but I don't want my American tax dollars going to pay for this crap. Plain spoken, and echoing what all of us are thinking when we hear all that stuff. I just love it. $75,000 for a DEI musical in Ireland. Can I just be clear here? I used to work in musical theater, okay, on big Broadway productions. Let me just explain something. Every musical is a DEI musical. I love this. Hey, we'll give you $75,000 to produce a musical, but there's a catch. You got to make it diverse and inclusive. It's insane. And what was that? A transgender opera? Yeah, here's a grant to put on an opera, but some of the performers have to be in drag. Have you seen an opera lately? I'm pretty sure all the performers are in drag. I promise you, they don't need your assistance in putting on a transgender opera. Well, naturally, all the right people are pissed off about this. Their hair's on fire, and they're screaming. They're screaming like terrorists. Ooh. I hit that one on the nose. Here she is, the screaming terrorist from which district in Minnesota?
It is really, really a sad day in America. We are witnessing a constitutional crisis. We talked about Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one, and here we are. This is what the beginning of dictatorship looks like. When you gut the Constitution and you install yourself as the sole power, that is how dictators are made.
Power. The power. Oh, that Somali accent is really something to behold, isn't it? So let's see. Dictators are made by cutting the Constitution. Well, I would usually agree with that if that's what Trump was doing here. I'm sorry, but freezing any grants being distributed by a rogue executive branch entity that gives money for frivolous and un-American things overseas to our allies as well as to our enemies is not the same as cutting the Constitution. What is wrong with you? As with everything that Trump does, the left has completely gone unhinged and overreacted to this, which, by the way, makes most Americans do this. So most Americans probably wouldn't even seen Trump putting extra scrutiny and a freeze on grants given by this obscure federal agency, USAID. But now, because it's wall-to-wall coverage on the left, because people in Washington, D.C. and Manhattan who work in media think this is the most important thing. And why? Because their sources on Capitol Hill are telling them that it's the most important thing. So that's it. Wall-to-wall coverage. All right. So most Americans aren't paying attention, but then they'll flip through the channels and say, oh, they're talking about this. Okay, well, what exactly is this thing that Trump is gutting? Wow, is he really a dictator? Is he really? Is he really? And then they find out what it is. And they're like, what is wrong with you people? There's nothing. In fact, I don't want my money to pay for that. We can barely pay our bills in this country. We've got a deficit for as far as the eye can see. And it's not like this money is going to, equip our military or to keep Social Security checks flowing. It's to pay for a transgender opera in Serbia. And these people are pissed off about it, and they think this is a winning message. Hey, don't let me get in your way. Please, the more the merrier.
To all the employees at USAID, thank you, thank you, thank you. You keep America safe, and you help people all around the world. And I want to apologize. I want to say I'm sorry that you have to put up with this offensive bullshit coming out of this White House.
Have you ever seen that guy or any other Democrat saying such wonderful things to the men and women who wear our uniform? You keep America safe, and you keep us safe around the world with our... No, you have to be a government bureaucrat at USAID to get that kind of accolade from a Democrat. Think about what they're doing here. They're raising up the employee. I apologize to the employees of this obscure federal bureaucracy who can't spend tax dollars without any kind of oversight. That's what's happening here. They're outraged that these bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. aren't allowed to spend billions of your dollars without any kind of scrutiny or oversight by the man who was just elected president of the United States. These people work in the executive branch of government. He's the head of the executive branch of government. If he wants to say, yeah, we're going to put a hold on everything you're spending right now until we can get a handle on where the money's going, he has every right to do that. And every time a Democrat pokes his head out of the hole like Puxatawny Phil to start screaming bloody murder about it, they're actually helping Trump win even more. Speaking of groundhogs and other rodents of strange description, here's Chuck Schumer, the minority leader in the Senate.
We also know this is just the beginning. If DOGE attacks USAID today, then you can be sure they'll move on to another target tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe it'll be the Postal Service or the IRS or even the Social Security Administration. They could be next. Or maybe our national security agencies.
Wait, hold on. If they can get away with this, they might end up gutting the IRS. Don't threaten me with a good time, Chucky. Is that a promise? I'm going to hold you to that. Honestly, do they think that this is a winning argument? So they're all freaking out. That's members of Capitol Hill, members of the House, members of the Senate. So, of course, if they're freaking out, their pals in the media have to freak out. So enter Van Jones, who, you guessed it, is freaking out.
We could brag on Marco Rubio. I'd be happy to do it, but I'm going to tell you right now, people are going to die in very large numbers around the world who are expecting the United States to live up to our promises to get them medicine, to get them help. And when that happens, people are going to remember that. There are people right now who have HIV who are alive only because the United States is making sure of that. Donald Trump says, we don't care. You go die. That's the message from the United States government. It is the wrong message to be sending, and it opens up the door for China and other people say, at least we're a stable government who's not going to leave you out here to die. That's what this is not an abstract conversation for people around the world.
People are going to die without USAID. So again, you've never heard of this thing, and yet now people are going to die if the funds are frozen on it. People started acting hysterically, the employees, when they found out that the grants are freezing and there's scrutiny on this. Joni Ernst, senator from Iowa, she was threatened because she asked to see the appropriation, or excuse me, the money that was being doled out by USAID. I almost said appropriations because that would make it constitutionally approved. Congress doesn't approve this stuff. They give money to USAID, and then USAID has the right to spend it however they want it, under the direction of the administration and the Secretary of State. That's what this administration and the Secretary of State wanted to get a handle on. And they went nuts. Enter Joy Reid. She also went nuts.
Begin tonight with a full-on crisis in our democracy, as federal workers are literally locked out of their offices while operatives working for a private citizen essentially take over our government. Their tactics include turning off our federal websites, deleting government-funded research that you, the taxpayer, paid for to impose speech codes, bullying news organizations by demanding interview transcripts, implementing an FBI purge, locking federal workers out of their computers, and even turning them away at their offices while giving themselves, without congressional or any other authorization, full access to the personal data of tens of millions of Americans, including Social Security recipients, FBI agents and officials, military and government contractors, and every single employee of the federal government. All of that data in private hands that you did not authorize, even if you voted for Donald Trump. This as Trump installs unqualified minions at the heads of every federal agency, knowing that they wouldn't stop this even if they knew how. At least when he's not threatening multiple trade wars or vowing to launch a new age of American imperialism by colonizing the indigenous people of Greenland and the Panama Canal, all while congressional Democrats issue strongly worded letters, plus holding a press conference today, and congressional Republicans sit back and let the federal government they work for collapse all around them, while they occasionally beg Trump for tariff mercy for their states. If this were happening in any other country right now, I promise you, I'd be on the air calling it a coup.
Remember after Trump won the second time around, that was a great day, wasn't it? Back in November, a few months ago. Remember how Democrats and people in the media were like, okay, we're going to be different this time. We're not going to act like our hair's on fire. Every time Trump does something or tweets something or takes action, we're not going to act like it's the end of the democracy. It's the end of our constitutional republic, that it's a coup, that it's going to destroy our entire, we're not going to do that. Yeah, apparently they forgot all of that. This is amazing. If it weren't just complete and total bullshit, it would be absolutely phenomenal drama. But it's all lies. By the way, is it me or does Joy Reid have like a lazy eye thing going? Screen left. You're right. You see the eye? Why is that entire monologue? That eye's in a perpetual squint. You see it? What's going on there? Is it the earring? Maybe the earring on the left, which also acts as a theatrical counterweight if you're doing a national tour for the scenery. Maybe that one's a little larger than the one on the right. By the way, are those like Republican elephants inside those giant stage weights? I'm not sure. I'm getting distracted. Let's move on to a more normal looking person. Aha! Wow, I don't think either of those two match that description. It's Rachel Maddow and his twin brother, Jamie Raskin.
Can you describe your decision to go to USAID today? And actually, can you also describe what happened when you tried to go inside the building today?
Sure. Well, for me, it was easy, Rachel, because not only have I been trying to defend the Constitution and legality in America, as you know, for the last several years, but I have tens of thousands of federal workers who are my constituents in beautiful Montgomery County, Maryland. And what I see are all the telltale signs of a coup. A coup is a seizure of state power by unelected actors who work to take over the critical infrastructure of government outside of the rule of law. And that's what I see as going on right now. I mean, Elon Musk has basically tried to take control of the country's.
There you go. It's a coup. It's a coup. It's a coup. They've definitely decided that Elon Musk is going to be the bête noire. They've poll tested this. They've researched it with their little focus groups, and they've decided that he's the target. They're going to go after Elon Musk, and they're going to call it a coup, a coup, a coup. But here's the problem. Elon Musk has been appointed and empowered by the man who did just win the election, the president of the United States, Donald Trump. And so it's the opposite of a coup when the person that the people elected to be president then says, great, thank you. Let me put my team together. You, Mr. Musk, you're on my team. Here's what I want you to do. Go do it. And then he does it. See, that's not a coup. In fact, when people who work in the government in beautiful Montgomery County, Maryland, that Jamie Raskin represents, by the way, pretty expensive place to live. So those federal government workers that he represents, they're doing really, really well for themselves. When those people who work for the government as employees of the executive branch decide that if their actions and work is being scrutinized, that if the money that they're spending, tax dollars that they're spending at will on their own whim, is suddenly going to be frozen for scrutiny by the team that just won the election, and they think they're above that, they think that they can go ahead and do whatever they want with their jobs and they're untouchable, and they can spend tax dollars however they want around the world at any time without the president and his team having any oversight to it, they're the ones who are engaged in a coup. By definition, if we really want to define coup. And I've responded to these idiots as much as I care to. I'm done with them because I've got this guy to drop the final hammer and have the final word. Senator Kennedy, please wrap this up, will you?
It's kind of cool having a president again. Let me try to put all this in context for you. I like omelets. I mean, I really like omelets. I could eat an omelet at every meal. I like omelets better than sex. Not really, but you get the point. I like omelets. You can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. Now, President Trump ran for office saying, I'm going to review every single penny in the federal budget. Now, how are you going to review the spending in the federal budget without reviewing the spending? And that's what Mr. Musk is doing. Now, many of my Democratic colleagues and some of the tofu-eating wokarati at the USAID are screaming like they're part of a prison riot because they don't want us reviewing the spending. But that's all Mr. Musk is doing, and he's finding some pretty interesting stuff. To my friends who are upset, I would say with respect, call somebody who cares. They better get used to this. It's USAID today. It's going to be Department of Education tomorrow. And really, here's what's going on. For 4 years under President Biden, the people in charge ask one simple question. Who needs to pay more in taxes? Who needs to pay more in taxes? Well, that's not the question that the Republicans and President Trump are going to ask. Our question is, what the hell happened to the money? And that's all that's going on. If you notice, my Democratic colleagues and the USAID officials, they're not defending the spending. All they're talking about is process. Oh, it's an insurrection. And Elon Musk doesn't have the authority. Well, sure, he has the authority. The president gave it to him. And all he's doing is looking at the spending, just what the president said he was going to appoint Musk to do. Here's what I hope Rubio and Musk do. I would put together all this absurd spending into a booklet. I'd call a press conference, and in front of God and country and the corporate media and the USAID folks and my Democratic colleagues, I'd go over it, item by item by item, every bit of it. The DEI comic books, the transgender operas, the funding of gain-of-function research. I'd go over every bit of it and say, now, do you want to defend this? And they won't. They can't.
That guy right there said it all. And there's nothing more to say about this issue. In fact, I'll just wrap it up by saying, of all the people who work in Washington, D.C., that's the guy right there, John Kennedy, that I would absolutely pay untold thousands of dollars to just sit and have a bourbon with. Shouldn't say that because the way these politicians raise money, he'll take me up on it. But he's a great guy, and he said it like it is. And that's exactly what's going on here. And I hope you're enjoying it, because it is nice to have a president again. And it's really nice to be winning. Have you seen that there's news out there from economists, the experts? They're forecasting a depression, not a recession, a depression by the year 2030. See, it's this perfect storm of Social Security and Medicare hitting a breaking point with the largest generation about to hit retirement. Now, a smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. Pair that with a growing national debt and rising cost of living, and, well, that's why they're predicting a pretty big problem on the horizon. So what are you going to do right now to protect your family for the future? Gold can be a safe haven in hard economic times, and Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. See, this is the kind of diversity we like. Birch Gold is going to help you transition. It's also one of the transitions we like. Help you transition an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, real physical gold. And it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. So protect your future today. Text Larry, that's my name, Larry, Larry, to 989898. Get a free info kit on gold. And you'll also get a copy of The Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era. That includes a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation. We're only here to give you information. Text my name, Larry, to the number 989898. Do that today.